Burr Street, seen here from the city end, has for hundreds of years been a major route into the city centre. It may have been a Roman road with a link to Caister St Edmunds, but it's possible that it was part of a planned Norman expansion after the relocation of the marketplace. It was known as Blood and Guts Street because of slaughterhouses, butcher shops, and a route for cattle to market, and a scene of drunken fights. The open space outside John Lewis wasn't there in this 1937 picture, with number 1 Burr Street close to Timber Hill. We will go out of the city on the western side and come back in on the eastern side. This is Agriculture House, dating from 1952 and once the HQ of the National Farmers Union. It's now the offices of the ETT Group. This was the Thorn Tavern, which operated from 1836 till 2006 and is now Cisco's restaurant. Much of this has disappeared, but the building on the extreme left still stands in splendid isolation, surrounded by Brook Place. Originally attached on the left hand side was this set of buildings, and a little further up we see what surrounded the Chapel Loke passageway in 1989 and also today, 33 years later. Again, this is 1989 near the crossing compared to 2022. To the left of Dynamic Fitness, the access there is Fiddy's Yard, and I believe that is on the extreme right hand side of this picture when it was known as Hewitt's Yard. Next up, this is the Jolly Butchers, famed for the appearances of landlady Black Anna with her deep throaty jazz singing. This was the Bull's Head in 1936, though previously called the Blue Last, and the same scene today. In 1938 it was extended into neighbouring premises and renamed the Dart Inn, and later the Horse and Dray, before closing in 2010. From that pavement just outside and looking out of the city, looks like this now and looked like this in 1936. This is the Fox and Hounds, which closed in 1937, and this is number 165 Burr Street, just beyond it, which will be somewhere in this area as seen today. This is St John's Sepulchre with a parish cross in front of it, which is no more. And the final shot on this side of the street is as we go past the church towards the end of Burr Street. At the southern end of Burr Street we see part of the city wall which would have joined the Burr Street Gate, whose name is recalled in the nearby pub seen here in 1938 and here in 2022. There is a mural of the gate on the pub, similar to that at the Coachmaker's Arms of the St Stephen's Gate. This is Burr Cottage, which is joined to Burr House, which is in turn joined to another cottage. The two cottages at each end may be the remaining wings of a previous building here known as Black's Hall. All these photos, apart from my present day one, are from the 1930s. This building is the Lily Tavern, which closed in 1963, seen here from across the road, with the 2022 view looking like this. Its name is recalled in Lily Terrace. All of these buildings between Lily Terrace and Mariners Lane have been replaced by what is now known as Skipper House. This building was on the corner of Mariners Lane, the present view looking like this. A little further along, this thatched building has been replaced by this. In fact, much on this side of the road has disappeared. This being the Recruiting Sergeant pub, this being number 112 with a Methodist chapel visible just beyond it, this being number 110 in 1936, and this being the same number 110 in 1955. These pictures from the 1930s show numbers 102 to 104, numbers 90 to 100, and the Butcher's Arms, which had closed in 1931. This was number 74 to number 78. Looking from across the street in 2022, we can see the remains of St Bartholomew's Church, and as late as the 1930s, most of the nave and part of the chancel remained, hidden from view by slaughterhouses. Next to the church was the King George IV pub, standing on the corner of a much narrower Horns Lane, the we see today. Opposite Chapel Oak was the Royal Oak, which closed in 1965, the site today looking like this. More clearance took place of numbers 54 to 58, 50 to 52, number 44, and finally in this little stretch, number 38. By the early 1950s, number 38 looked like this, as the area was redeveloped as Warminger's waste paper depot, which was replaced in 2005 by Warminger Court Retirement Housing. On the corner of Thorn Lane was St Michael at Thorn, which was destroyed in the Second World War. Beyond the car park which replaced the church was Windmill Alley, which was named after the nearby Windmill pub, also destroyed in the war. This was number 16 Burr Street, now the site of Gerald Giles. This was number 8 Burr Street, as seen in 1979, previously the King's Arms until 1969, together with the present day view. And the final Burr Street building we'll look at is number 2, seen here in 1938 and here in 2022. This is the city end of Burr Street in 1891. We've seen a number of pubs on our tour, but by no means all, and here's a complete list of Burr Street pubs.